first governing body meeting, I think I probably felt, well, what have I let myself in for? Because there was lots of jargon and terminology that I'd never heard of before.
I probably wanted to stop it every 30 seconds to say, what does that mean? What is Raise Online? What does that abbreviation mean?
Very, very nerve-wracking. I knew what was coming, but when you see all the agenda in front of you, you've got like pages and pages of this stuff, it's really, you think, oh, I'm never going to get through this.
Governing body meetings are notorious for being long-winded, held during unsociable hours, and generally a bit of a turn-off for all but the most dedicated. But with continuing difficulties over the recruitment and retention of primary and secondary governors, could making meetings that little bit more friendly, informal and approachable help to engage people?
None of us are going to enjoy going out doing voluntary work, governors' meetings or anything else, if there isn't a element of enjoyment. If it's not enjoyable to some degree, people are going to walk away. So those people who don't enjoy the traditional meeting, potentially we're going to lose if we can't engage in a more creative way.
That's exactly what's been tried at Wybourne Community Primary School in Sheffield. After struggling to recruit parent governors, members of the governing body decided to bring an element of fun into their meetings. They now have a waiting list.
The meetings are really relaxed. Tea, coffee, buns. It's down to earth. You feel confident. You feel well involved. And like some people will say, when you're trying to get parents to go on governing board, they'll say, no, because it's too official, I don't understand what they're saying. But it's not like that. Atmosphere is really nice. You feel real at ease, and you get involved in everything.
The ethos of the governing body meetings is very, very important to me. I wouldn't say they're a social event, but they're well on their way. We are colleagues, we are friends on our governing body, working for the good of the school.
First of all, in a sense, can I say hello to Colette, who's been elected as one of our new parent governors?
We had 6 nominations for the vacancies on the governing body, and we had a ballot. And as I said to Colette earlier, you've won.
And when you picked her up.
So you can tell us at the end of the night whether it was worth winning as a prize. What we normally do is just get everybody to go around the table, not just for your benefit, but usually we have some new faces here. And if you're like me, you'll instantly forget who they were once they've said the name, but at least in a sense you can place a face. Please feel free to ask anything you want at any time. If particularly people are mentioning sort of initials and abbreviations and acronyms you don't understand, we're informal enough in a sense to butt in when you want to make an input, and don't feel any questions too simple to ask. Because it's important for you to understand.
It's not a matter of changing everything that you do, but the small things really can make a difference. So the problems that people have with jargon, that's a regular thing that crops up. Have a jargon buster on the team, as it were, in the governing body. And simply when somebody mentions some jargon that you don't understand, like FMSIS, somebody puts a card up, and that indicates that that person doesn't understand that jargon, and the head teacher or whoever said it can explain that that means the financial management standard in schools, as an example.
Then Jo's got a couple of things she wants us just to go and have a look at, which are?
Which are our new refurbished Y1 classroom, because we're changing the way we do curriculum in Y1. And also the library and the ICT suite.
OK.
Should we just go and have a look? Yep.
Recently our school's undergone a lot of changes in our premises and the way our learning environment exists, and talking about these things in governor's body meetings is difficult to visualise. So we've introduced a time where if there's something new in school, or if children have been doing exceptional work and projects that we'd like to share with the governors, we have a time in our governing body meeting where we tour the school premises and we look at these things and make our conversations more real and more meaningful to us.
We do think that obviously access to computers at home and also parental support is one of the things that comes into the, you know, things that start to show lack of attainment, and that's a great divide between parts of the city.
Right, and I think that's why I wanted to show you this resource, because, you know, it does need to be used and you can get the message out there.
Just looking at the time, it's just gone 1:45. Yep. So strictly speaking, we've got 15 minutes left. As ever, we're always running up against the pace. What I wanted to do on school priorities, which is this document here, was really just give governors an opportunity for 10 minutes, probably to break into 3 groups with the numbers of people we've got, really just to mull over this, to see whether, in fact, one is it reflects what we've talked about tonight, because arguably they ought to be the priorities that we're focused on. And probably more importantly, it's something that we actually are pinning on the walls for parents and others to read, and do people understand it?
Our governing body is quite large for a primary school, and the concern is sometimes that not every voice gets heard, or that we cut conversations short because we're worried about time. And one method we've found that works really well is to break up into smaller groups, especially if there's something to discuss. It cuts down on time, and it allows some people's voices to be heard who may not feel comfortable in tabling an expression point to the whole governing body.
This is for parents. I don't know what ACP is in literature.
Breaking up into small groups were really useful, yeah. I felt like you could just say and be yourself in a small group and put your opinions, no matter how little or silly they were. It was just a chance to everybody reflect on what's been said, really.
A better nursery.
I think I'm doing really well. But I didn't think this meeting was going to be fun. I thought I was going to be sat there in too deep, really, at first. But because everybody was so relaxed and it was friendly, and it weren't as bad as what I thought it was going to be. It were okay. I enjoyed it.
But what about the secondary sector? Can meetings still be fun when tough decisions need to be made and difficult issues need to be discussed?
I think meetings have to be both fun and engaging, and in some parts have to address serious matters. But if it's all totally serious, then you won't come again.
So welcome to Student Matters Committee. Can we start with an introductory round, and if you could say your name and what your role is at this meeting, so your role within High Store School. So I'm Liz Wilson and I chair the Student Matters Committee. Agenda item 5, which is around student voice, and I hope I formed the question correctly, which is how does student voice operate within High Stores? And I believe you're going to give us a presentation and take some questions from us.
Instead of being a dry and dusty agenda item, the student voice is real.
Something that's really coming through and helping at the moment is the fact that the whole structure of student voice is changing. Before there was a lot of complaints that in school council we'd come up with a really good idea and put it forward and it'd go to the whole school council, but then nothing would really ever get back to the students and it would kind of just end there. So the idea is that now we're going to have house meetings that then go to whole school council, but instead of it ending there we then go back to another house meeting, so that we're kind of seeing where it's going to go and where it's going to lead instead of just leaving these points hanging.
Student voice has transformed, certainly from my point of view, the interest in a governor's meeting. I'd much rather listen to what pupils want to say and what they think is good about school or what could be improved about school than some 40, 50, 60-year-old who perhaps last went to school many, many years ago.
The most important thing in terms of engaging everybody who's at a committee for me is equality, giving everybody the chance to either ask a question or make a point. And the thing that turns people off, I think, is inequality. So if you're sat there all evening and you've never said a word, I think that will switch you off. So I try to allow everybody who wants to speak. And the way that I do that is it's called a round, and that means that you give everybody a chance to speak uninterrupted by everybody else in a round. So you'd start with one person and literally go round the group. What I'd like to do is just do a round of either a thought or a question so that everybody on this side gets the chance to speak once and once only.
I'm presuming that class reps are elected by the other members of their class.
How you ensure that you do truly represent the other students, how you take on board their views and how you feed back.
What are the key issues you're facing, so that when we're doing the strategy and working with school, we've got your vision, your ideas in our heads.
That's got to form part of the discussions, and we can't ignore that.
I found it so inspiring being with young people who can articulate such complex thoughts.
We were having people approach the school wanting to become governors, and we had a full cadre. So rather than send them away empty-handed, my idea was to create them as associate governors for a 12-month period. So it became more like a work trial, where they could get to know us and we could get to know them. Once an associate governor, and we've had one recently, becomes a full governor because we had a vacancy, then they can bring the experience and knowledge they've gained as being associate governor and have the confidence to talk in governing body meetings or committees.
The question I want to ask is, when do you actually meet? Is it during PSHE? Is it during your lunchtime?
I've been an associate governor, and that period of sort of over 12 months has actually supported me to look at the school, built my confidence, the way that I have been able to build up a picture about the school, understand it, so that I don't feel that I'm asking foolish questions within a meeting. So that helped me to actually then take that step forward to become a community governor.
How are people's attention levels and hunger levels? Do people want to take the attendance and behaviour report, or do you want to leave that over until next term?
I can do it very, very quickly.
Thank you. It is a very difficult role to be chair, because getting the balance between giving everybody an equal voice and not allowing people to dominate, even if they are only 11 and in Y7, you still can't let them have all the floor. Is it your question about food, Sam?
It's just about the yellow pages kind of thing.
OK, do you want to just make that point and then we'll go back to Richard and try and tie it up? Yeah. A phrase that I use a lot is, are there any burning issues? If there's anything that if you left having not said you would feel angry or upset, then we'll hear it, but otherwise, let's leave it there. Is it absolutely burning? Because it's nearly 8 o'clock and we usually finish at 8. Go on then, Sam, last one. By behaving in that way as chair, I think you enable the flow of the meeting to go in the right direction, if you like, so people don't have time to get switched off. And if you let just 1 or 2 people dominate, then other people get annoyed.
I liked being able to be listened to with our ideas for once, and we could fill a whole governor's meeting with what we have to say, so...
Could indeed.
Thank you.
I think we go together as a body, much more closely working together, governors, pupils and staff. And dare I say, I almost look forward to governors' meetings now.